Episode 28 of The Burrows, and our first off-season episode, a few weeks since the World Series ended, actually a month now since the World Series ended and the off-season began. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo always coming to you with The Burrows. Mike, obviously a huge off-season here. We are a few days away, I think, from Juan Soto signing, so I just won't waste time. Gun to your head, where's he going?
Yeah, the Red Sox, that's where he's going, because every fake report you see, it's, everybody from the Dominican Republic's telling you he's signing with the Red Sox and deal's in place already. No, he's going to be in New York. I honestly couldn't tell you which team, but I think he's going to end up in New York. I don't think he'll be in Toronto. I don't think he'll be in Boston. I certainly don't think he'll be with the Dodgers. It's going to be with one of the New York teams. Jack Curry had some nice reporting last night on Yes about how the Yankees are obviously comfortable going to the price at which they know they have to go with him. So it'll come down to the Mets or the Yankees, and I think it's like 50-50, Kevin. I really don't know how to feel.
Well, I think for the first time last night with Jack Curry speaking, Jack Curry hasn't spoken on the topic at all since the season ended. So he finally does it. He saves it for the first Yankees Hot Stove on Yes Network, which they run pretty frequently now from this point on. It was the first one last night. Jack Curry is the first reporter in this whole thing I trust. And really, in this situation, if it doesn't come from Jack Curry or Jeff Passan, I'm not going to buy it too much. Because even John Heyman, right, ever since the Aaron Judge thing, I have trouble with a high leverage Yankee free agent and him being my source. It just doesn't work for me. So I think Curry did a good job last night. I agreed with everything Curry said. I do believe, if we want to talk about reports outside of it, there's the Red Sox stuff. You mentioned the Blue Jays. I do believe the Blue Jays are going to have the biggest offer here. I actually think they're going to beat the Mets in their offer, but that doesn't mean that you're in contention to get them. I think it's going to be the Yankees. I'm still pretty optimistic about it, but with Aaron Judge a few years ago, it was 95% Yankees, 5% field. With Soto, I'm probably going 75% Yankees, 25% field.
Wow, that's a high. See, that's high. That's high to me.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because I agree with what John Flaherty said on you go first.
You know the Yankees aren't going to be the highest offer. You know they're not even going to be the second highest offer.
Yeah.
You know
but that. I think they're going to be close to both.
Okay.
Like I don't see the Blue Jays outbidding Cohen here by 50-60 million, and then I don't see the Yankees falling much shorter than the Mets do.
What did Flaherty say last night?
I agree with what Flaherty said about the Yankees just have such a massive advantage in the relationship with Soto because they've had him for a year. In 1 year with the team, they go to the World Series. He has the best season of his career, and they know how each other like to do business. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to look at the contract from the Mets and say, Yankees just didn't give me enough. I got to leave here. But it's a tough place to leave, I think, for Juan Soto, who's been there, who likes the guys, and is going to get a contract that's going to be the second highest in Major League Baseball history, regardless.
Well, we've never seen a player play for the New York Yankees in their prime. Now, obviously, it's a different situation because Soto's not a homegrown Yankee. Right.
Yeah.
But we've never seen a player play even one season in his prime on the Yankees and leave for the second team in town, the New York Mets. Yeah. I remember bringing this up in the middle of the season. Tiki Barber said, in a completely different situation with football, baseball, right? But Tiki Barber said, as a Giant, I could never see myself going to play for the Jets in any scenario. And other players felt that way. When you play for the top team in town, it's tough to go to that second team. It really is. And they said they sort of joked about it sometimes when they were winning and the Jets weren't. And the Mets are clearly the second team in town. But out of all the sports in New York, I think the Mets and the Yankees, when the Mets are good, the Mets can get as close to the top team in town. Am I wrong there? This could become a Mets town when the Mets start winning.
Well, just for the sake of your comment, I think I get exactly what you're saying. And I agree with it. If the Mets are winning, but the problem is the Mets have to be winning and the Yankees have to be average. Right. That's what it has to be. The Yankees can't also be winning because even this year, it was not a Mets town. It was still Soto and Judge, and big bad Yankees are going to rip through the AL. And granted, we understood the field. We understood the advantages the Yankees had. And the Mets season this year in a different context because it was an overachieving year, but the expectations for the Yankees were still higher with both teams winning and both teams in the championship series. But for the sake of New York, I think the most even disparity is the Jets and Giants, but the Jets are just absolutely never good. So you never get to see it. But I agree with what you're saying. So the Mets, if you go there and win, well, how about this? Everyone talks about how you'd be just eternalized if you win with the Yankees, which has been true. I mean, how many guys have made Hall of Fames, gotten numbers retired with the Yankees that are maybe lesser players than we give them credit for, but are considered all-time greats because they won with the Yankees? That's been a historical trend. But I do also think, like, look at the 86 Mets. We don't stop talking about them. Right. So if you win with the Mets, the gratitude and exclusiveness that you have with that fan base is greater than you have with the Yankees, but the Yankees fan base and the Yankees popularity is so much bigger, at least at this moment in time. Who knows, 10, 15 years if the Mets can make a few runs to change that. But yeah, it's not like you're on the Dodgers and you're going to the Angels.
No. Can I ask you this question about Curry last night? Did it seem like, and I'm genuinely asking because I've seen both sides of this, and I've seen some Yankee fans actually say this, and I don't know what to believe. Their comments, the Yankees' comments to Curry about their process and how they feel, does it worry you? We feel that, we feel comfortable with whatever decision he makes because we feel we put our best foot forward. Do you think this is already kind of them building the excuse just in case he doesn't come back? This is what they're going to say and rely on?
I look at it two ways. I think one, like, you could look at it that way. I don't lean towards that way. I lean more towards the leverage play. I think every report is a leverage play from someone because some source is giving you. If you have a source that you think is good enough to report, it better be from the Boris camp or the Yankees camp. If you're talking about the Yankees with Soto, and it's all a leverage play for me. And the Yankees are just putting themselves in a position where they don't have to re-sign him because of their comments, but not because they're trying to set up an out for themselves if he leaves. But I think it's more of Boris can't walk into a meeting and say, well, we said we're getting him. And we said we feel great about our chances. Because once the Yankees say they feel great about their chances, and a guy like Jack Curry, who is in the know with the team, once he says that, the fan base is going to get too excited about it. And it's way too intense of a bidding war for the Yankees to make any guarantees, or for any team to make any guarantees about, we feel great about this. We think we're going to get him, because Toronto has been trying to get one of these guys for a while. Yeah. And I think when you have Toronto and then you have the Mets in it, if you're the Yankees, you can't say, all right, well, we actually have the highest offer right now, but that's not going to change. That could change in one phone call from Scott Boras. So it's tough. I just think they can't say anything overly optimistic because they know the playing field.
The interesting thing is the Mets and the Yankees, for the most part, have had no leaks here. Right? There's really been, like, you heard the preliminary, like, oh, the Mets had a great meeting with Soto and, they feel good. And the same thing about the Yankees. Yankees have had good conversations. They like their presentation and whatnot. All the leaks with the Red Sox, they're optimistic. They're they're that. It's hysterical. It almost makes you feel, because, how we have both felt even more better about the fact that he's going to be playing in this city. Now, if it's for your team, if it's for my team, who the hell knows? But we feel as confident right now that it's going to be a New York team.
And even Jack Curry said that. He said it's going to be, when he signs, it's probably going to be with one of the two teams. That's what he thinks. It's going to be with one of the New York teams. That's what everybody thinks. And listen, man, Soto's not going to Toronto. I think they'll have the highest offer. He's not going to play in Toronto.
It would have to be
$800 million plus. Yes. And the Yankees and Mets didn't go past 710 or 715.
Right. And let's say even the Mets, the highest offer 650 the Mets have, and the Yankees are at 625, and maybe it's 750. Maybe he goes there, but still, I mean, come on.
No,
I almost feel bad for them. Because they can't play with some of these teams.
No, they can't. And that's why you see them offering. I mean, they offered Ohtani a better contract than the Dodgers. I mean, they're here trying to do this. They offered him the same deal with no deferrals.
Right.
I mean, they're here trying to make these deals happen, and Ohtani would have got $700 million before he retires. So he chose the Dodgers because the Blue Jays just can't compete. And now they seem to be in a situation where if they don't land Soto, maybe they try and pivot to Burns and make something happen. But if they don't land Soto, it's probably going to be Guerrero leaving.
Yeah.
And then all this money they've tried to spend, they're going to end up with one of those low payroll rebuilding rosters. But
at least Boston has a chance. It's a big city. As much as we don't think they're going there in terms of other big free agents, whether it's this season or in the future, like they have a chance at getting some of these guys.
Yeah, the thing with Boston too is you just traded Mookie Betts 5 years ago. You spent the last 4 years trying to operate under your budget. Now you're just going to drop $650 million, $700 million out of the blue on a guy that's I'm sorry, he's not as good as Mookie. If you weren't willing to trade to pay Mookie, then why are you willing to pay Soto now?
Double what you would have had to pay Mookie.
Exactly. So that doesn't make any sense to me, but I do think they've come in with a respectable meeting at least. I'd be shocked if the Red Sox made how it goes. A week after he signs, you see the contract off the team. Jeff Passan finds out what everyone offered.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if the Red Sox were in the top 4.
Yeah, the one thing about Boston is I think, and this conversation we could have about one of the football teams that one of us roots for, but I think it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth around the league that they just dumped Betts the way they did. You know what I mean? Like you have this superstar player and you traded him for nothing because you didn't want to pay him. And you made a playoff run once, but you've done really virtually nothing since then. And you clearly made the wrong decision. Like that's got to rub guys the wrong way.
On the other side of it, you have Jack Curry confirmed what I had thought last night. The Yankees have a way to add. They have a plan in place to add or attempt to add substantial players. He mentioned Cody Bellinger, but players like that after signing Soto. Obviously, the Mets and Stearns and Cohen would be doing the same thing. Yeah. They're not just going to stop at Soto. Mm-hmm. Those teams, the Red Sox and Blue Jays, are probably stopping at Soto.
And you know what's funny? Like, yeah, it's Juan Soto. I get that, but again, the Mets are going to add, right? The Mets need pitching. The Mets will add more pitching. That the Yankees need a couple of other things, like you mentioned, they'll do that. It's almost like Boston, if they weren't going to add after Soto, then I don't like the idea of adding Soto because they need 3 or 4 impact players on top of Juan Soto, that if you're not going to do it, you might as well just add those impact players.
And I get you have the prospects, you have the top guys in the league, you have a couple guys in the top 20, but we know how those players go. They're all lottery tickets, and there's a 13 or 14% hit rate on top 10 prospects. Well, I want to go back to what you said about just the Yankees and Mets not leaking anything. I always say this to Yankee fans who are so caught up in the rumors of the offseason. Look at what the Yankees end up doing every offseason. The most recent example is the lockout year. It's like no one ever knows what Brian Cashman is doing.
Yeah.
Because they keep it so tight. The lockout year, everyone's talking about Freddie Freeman. Everyone's talking about Carlos Correa. Yankees were never going to spend that offseason. They completely decided to never spend. Did anybody ever report Yankees are interested in acquiring Josh Donaldson from Minnesota? No. 2019, everyone's talking about Harper and Machado to the Yankees. Yankees are going to try to get one. They never even called either player.
Yeah.
So it's just nobody knows what the Yankees are doing. In this case, everybody knows they're trying to sign Soto, but nobody knows how it's actually going. And the winter meetings start Monday, the 9th, and that's when rumors are going to start flying like crazy. But he's going to sign by the end of next week.
Yeah, and I can't wait for it to be done. I mean,
me too.
I get giddy. Like, if I haven't been on Twitter for a few hours, I get giddy, like, getting ready to open it up and see if there's any new rumors or any new developments. Like, for the past, 2 weeks now, I'm sick of it. I just want him to sign somewhere. I want it to be over because whether it's your team or my team, there are so many other moves to be made here in this offseason to get these teams where they have to go. And it's exciting as a Mets fan for the first time in a while because they have a legitimate shot at building on a very special season, and starting a little bit of a run here in this offseason is incredibly important in signing long-term players that are going to help that.
And how about being another free agent, a non-Boris guy? Because if you're a Boris guy, you can kind of reach out to him and say, hey, how's this looking with
Yeah.
Soto? How's it? And if you're a non-Boris guy, you want to sign your contract. But if you're speaking to a team like the Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, you can't sign right now because they might not know what is going on. I want to ask you this. I didn't send it to you last night. Did you see Trevor Plouffe say, I think it was Trevor Plouffe, say that Montas to the Mets was like a bargaining chip by Stearns with Boris because Montas is a Boris client? Did you see that?
I knew he was a Boris client. I didn't see that. That's very interesting.
And he was just saying it could have gone one of two ways. Boris says, you want a real shot at Soto, you got to take care of this guy. Or Stearns saying, hey, we're taking care of your guy here. Maybe give us a little bit of a better shot in this field if the negotiations, maybe the Yankees have such an upper hand in negotiations. I'm not saying that they do, but maybe Stearns feels that way. And he's saying, hey, give us that extra meeting. I'm giving Frankie Montas $16 million a year now.
What's funny? I just saw this post like literally 5 seconds ago, and it's David Stearns' approach to pitching, and this would absolutely be the case with Frankie Montas. It's like a what do you call this thing? Like a music set, like a disc. What would you call that? Like a cassette. Okay. And it says does not work. There's a note on it out on the street. It says does not work. I know exactly what you're talking about. But could be fun to fix. That's what David Stearns does with pitching, and like that's how I view Montas. But that's another way of looking at it. It's fascinating, man. I trust him. I know we're gonna get to it. I trust Stearns here, but if that's the case, then Stearns is really playing an even more risky game, giving this guy $17 million.
I know, and I think that maybe plays into it, right? If you have 2 or 3 pitchers that you're looking to plug into your 4-5 spot, and they're all at that Frankie Montas, Severino level, you go for the Boris client because you're trying to get a deal done with a bigger player. I could see that being a thing. I don't know how much stock you have to put into it, especially because Boris understands the business. And if the Mets don't want Frankie Montas, he's not going to get them to sign Frankie Montas.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's too played out, but it's fun to think about those.
The other thing is, too, he has a couple of other big-time free agent pitchers that I'm sure, whether the Mets sign Soto or not, they're going to be on the phone with him still trying to get those deals done. So, because they need a frontline guy, whether it's through trade, whether it's through a free agent signing, they need a frontline guy.
Yeah, and you think Boris is going to be saying, let's go for a bigger guy than Burns if you guys want Soto. And also, how much can Boris do that? Because if Soto doesn't want to go to the Mets, it's just not going to happen,
Right, but then it's like
Stearns does all that, and then Soto gets to the point in a week, and he's like, but I don't want to play for the Mets. And Stearns is like, I just signed Frankie Montas and whoever else for Boris, and we can't even get this guy because he never wanted to play here.
Right, and that's why it would never happen. And Stearns also can't say, if Boris and Soto are just stringing the Mets along to raise the price for themselves, which is absolutely a possibility. Stearns can't then go back and say, well, I'm going to be petty and say, screw you, I'm not going to sign any more of your clients, because he has some of the most important clients on the board, including a guy that the Mets should even consider re-signing in Pete Alonso, whether they sign Soto or not. So,
yeah, what are your feelings on if the Mets don't sign Soto? Are you going to be, because if the Yankees don't sign Soto, I'm going to be upset, but it's a different situation for you guys. Obviously, you'll be disappointed. Are you actually going to be pretty upset though the rest of the offseason?
No, I'll be disappointed in the moment, but then it's like, all right, what's the backup plan? Right now, you got to see the backup plan, and if it involves big time free agent pitching and a couple big trades and Alonso back. And they definitely need a position player to add to that lineup, a few of them. So there's still paths for the Mets without signing Soto where I'm like, oh, I feel really good heading into next season.
Because for me, I mean, if the Yankees don't sign him and then they sign a guy like Teoscar or a guy like Alonso, I'm just going to be sitting there like,
well, we're playing, when it's not your player, you're playing with house money. He's not on your team, The
Mets have nothing to lose here.
Yeah.
Mets only have to gain with this. And this is the thing that scares me about Cohen in this spot is this is the first time I think Cohen's in a position to actually take over the headlines and actually take over the odds in New York baseball, because you will literally become a better team than the Yankees for sure if you get Soto from them. You will definitely become the best team, but it's a bad look for the Yankees, who have, like, everybody likes to tell me how rich Cohen is. Mets fans, I know you never do this.
Mhm.
You think Hal Steinbrenner doesn't have enough money to compete with him? So
Right.
it's a bad look when Steinbrenner doesn't go the distance to get him and keep him from the Mets. That's the bad look because he can do it. It's not that he can't do it, and that's why we should think he's worse than Cohen. It's the fact that he doesn't if he's able to. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he'll make an offer that gives him as good of odds as anybody, and then it'll be up to Soto. But I'm with you, man. I'm just ready for this to be over.
It's a perception thing. It's because for everybody's entire lives, since the Mets and the Yankees have existed together, the Yankees have had more money and the Yankees have been the more desirable place. And if there was a player they wanted, they got him. Now it's changed a little bit in terms of other teams have as much or more money now, but they're still the Yankees. So it would really be a perception thing of, wow, he went from the Yankees to the Mets on a bigger contract. It's also, Kevin, and we've talked about Cohen, but it's the first time since Cohen has been owner that it seems as though this is a player where he doesn't have a limit, where he seriously wants this guy. And that is why I feel slightly optimistic about the Mets' chances, because he didn't feel that way about Yamamoto. If he felt that way about Yamamoto, he could have blew the Dodgers out of the water. He could have offered him 350, 375, right? Over 10, 12 years. So this is a player here where it does seem like he's willing to do whatever it takes.
And I also do think that no matter where you are in negotiations, there's always a number that could get you Soto. With Yamamoto and some other free agents, Cohen might have been looking at it and saying, he's going to the Dodgers no matter what. So I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But with Soto, I don't think there's ever that feeling. And maybe there will be. We will find out in 2 or 3 weeks when details come out. But I still, even at that point, if it's Blue Jays offered $715, Mets offered $700, Yankees signed him for $650, or not $650, like $675, $680. Even if those are the figures, I'm still hard pressed to believe the Mets and Blue Jays were just in it for, especially the Mets, were just in it for leverage. I don't think that will ever be my mindset. I think that they are a legitimate. When I say 75-25, it's a strong 25 that it's only the Mets. There's not even a 0.5 that it is the Blue Jays or the Red Sox. It is 100% Yankees and Mets. So it's interesting, though. I wish that we talked about it the other day with the Giants offseason Hard Knocks, which is such a mess. But I wish that we got a little bit of baseball offseason content.
I love it.
I'd love to see Scott Boras talking to these GMs and owners, even on the surface level of, I would have loved to see the first set of meetings filmed, and there's no contract offers going down, but what are they asking each other? Because the only people that don't know is us. All the players and GMs and owners and agents know what's going on in that meeting. They have an idea of it. We don't. We have no idea what goes on in that first meeting.
Did you see that Andy Martino report a couple of weeks, it might have been a week ago, I forget when it was, about part of the meeting and, how Soto had asked about the infrastructure and how the Yankees haven't developed players. And, he had mentioned the Mets actually have some sort of advantage because Cashman at some point is going to get a promotion and kind of step away from the day-to-day baseball operations activities in a couple of years, and how the Mets have this foundation of this brand new manager who had a great year, and obviously a president that's going to be there for a very long time, and obviously Cohen's there, and the Mets sort of have this advantage there where there's there's going to be stability.
I could get what he's saying. I did see that, but imagine put yourself in Soto's shoes. If you love playing for the Yankees and they offer the same contract, you're not saying, "Oh man, but Cashman's not going to be here in a few years."
Yeah.
Who cares?
No, you're right. Hal's
but
gonna
I get what he's saying. How's the guy?
I don't know if Hal's the guy, Hal's going to be there.
Steinbrenners are never selling the team.
Right.
So they're just going to keep the team forever. So that's not changing. If they win with Soto, Boone's not going anywhere.
Right.
And maybe Cashman steps up. But if Cashman steps up to an elevated role where he's doing less, but he's still overseeing a lot of stuff,
he's still the boss.
It's just going to be one of his guys under him. They're not going to source to the Reds' assistant general manager to come run the team. That's
Imagine
not
that.
It's all interesting though, because at the end of the day, all this stuff probably plays a minor role. Then it's just at some point next week, Soto's going to be sitting there with probably 6 or 7 contract offers, 2 or 3 that he'll take seriously, and he's just got to pick. Like, he's just going to look at the teams and where they are and pick.
Let me ask you, who in your mind for the next 5 to 10 seasons, where does he have the best chance of winning? Genuinely, is it the Mets or the Yankees?
It's tough.
Tough question. I think it's close.
It's a tough question.
It's
It's very close. The reason I'll lean Yankees is because I look at the state of the American League and say it is a much easier battleground to get through. If both teams are as good next year, the Mets could get bounced in the first round. The Yankees are probably going to the World Series. If the two teams are as good as each other, that is how different. I mean, look how hard it is to win the NL East right now.
Right, the NL East is tough.
Just to get through the regular season as a champion in the NL East, then to get through the postseason,
it's tough. I also think the Dodgers. How much of a factor do the Dodgers play in this? Not wanting to have to play them every season with Ohtani and Betts and Freeman to get to the World Series.
Yeah, that's
tough.
That's a nasty place to run through if you're thinking about winning and contracts are the same. If you're thinking about just winning for the next 5 years, I like my chances of getting to the World Series 2 or 3 times in the next 5 years if I sign with the Yankees, if I'm Soto. And maybe they don't get to it at all. Maybe this is the only time. But just if in my head as a competitive player, I'm Soto, I'm saying we're going to get there a few more times with Judge and Cole and me on the team. But the Mets, you look at it and you say, well, Atlanta could be better if I go there. Dodgers are better. Padres could be better. I don't think the Phillies are better. I don't think they can be. They might win more regular season games, but I'm kind of out on the Phillies.
Not built for the postseason.
But either way, but then you could also say if you're Soto, like, you know what? These fans have won nothing. This organization doesn't win. They got a really good team. Let's go take on the Dodgers every year. Yeah. Let's go do it.
Let's be that team that takes them down. I wonder how athletes think about that. If that's worth the challenge, or say, hey, I'll take them down. I'll take them down the World Series.
Does it even factor in? Are you even looking at the contracts or do you just look at the team I'm playing for is going to be good enough to win? Because that's what the Mets would be, whether they do or not, whether you get through the NL or not. You're good enough to do it.
I think Boris, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I wonder if you agree with me. Boris's camp, right? Like Scott Boris, and then the people that work for him. There are a ton of guys that would be heads of could work as heads of baseball operations. That's how smart these guys are now, and that's how much these agencies have evolved. Where I think they're looking at absolutely everything. I think they're looking at the farm systems. They're looking at everything to project how the next few years can go if you do sign with those teams.
Yeah, and I do also think if you're Boris, this is another advantage I think the Yankees have, is, and maybe you'll disagree with me because you're a Mets guy, being the best player on the Yankees for the next 10 years, which he would be because Judge will fade out and Soto will be the best player on the Yankees for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you win one title with the Yankees as the best player on the team for 10 years, or if you win a title with the Mets as the best player on the team for the next 10 years, the external financial, like advertising money and just everything that comes with it, the popularity is so much greater on the Yankees that I want my client playing there. Look at the way the MLB... Listen, if Judge hits 55 home runs next year and the Yankees win 95 games and Soto hits 33 home runs and the Mets win 89 games, 90 games, a couple guys get hurt, just hypothetical.
Right.
The Yankees are being covered more than the Mets.
Yeah.
Judge is being covered more than Soto. So if Soto was sitting in front of Judge, and winning the division and getting the first round bye in the AL, his popularity is way greater. So I think if I'm Boris, I want him playing there, but at what cost? How much of a pay cut can we take to go there? How significant can it be?
And they know that. They know exactly how much.
And they have it all factored in. They have all the metrics of this is how much extra we'll make in popularity and in fans and merchandise and everything with Soto. in New York, I mean, with the Yankees than with the Mets. And they know all that and how impactful it actually is, which is stuff that, you're right, we don't comprehend. And these guys are so smart, and it's their jobs to know all this and have all this data.
We can just talk about it and then root for him and hope and pray that he comes to our team. I'll tell you this, to move off of Soto for a second. I woke up, you're gonna really laugh at this. I woke up with this really weird feeling today that I think no matter what, the Mets have to sign Pete Alonso. And I haven't really felt
no
this
matter
way.
what?
No matter what happens, they have to sign Pete. And I'll tell you why. And it relates back to my pitiful football team. I think it's bad jujus. I think it's bad jujus. You let this guy walk out the door for something you believe is greener pastures. I think if you could do both, sign both. Because this is a franchise player. This is a guy that's been with you through the hard times now, in the good times. He's going to be your all-time home runs leader. Like, just bring him back. Just bring him back. And they need the bat. They need the extra bat. So imagine the lineup with both of them in it. I know I sound like a spoiled Mets fan, but if you sign Soto, I want Alonso back still.
It also just, I mean, you're still, after Soto, you're still going to have to fill a hole of production in your lineup. Yes, because 100%. You're, as far as just the raw stats go and analytics, you're not getting, and I don't look at it this way. I don't look at it this way at all. But this is how I think front offices look at it more than I do. When you factor in the analytics and the stats and all the cumulative numbers that Alonso creates, you're not adding like the full version of Soto. You know what I mean? You're adding in just your numbers on paper. You're adding about half or 2/3 of Soto's production because you're losing Alonso's.
Yeah.
So when you add both, it's like you're actually last year's team adding Juan Soto. I could see, as a Mets fan, though, how you think he's got to be on that team. And I think no matter what, he's going to be back. I have a feeling that the Mets are just going to come in and not have many rumors about them with Alonso, and one day it's just going to heat up and be done quickly.
They know what number they have to get to, and they'll go to him and say, hey, do you want to be part of this? And maybe it's a little less than the number they have to get to, and he says, screw it, I don't want to be anywhere else. There was this guy that called a fan up yesterday. He was sitting in a bar in Ireland, and Alonso walks in with his wife. It was a couple of days ago. And he calls the fan. He says this, and Alonso walks in with his wife. The guy's there with his wife. He's a huge Mets fan. He starts talking to Alonso, and he's like, listen, I want to be respectful and whatnot, but like, tell Mr. Boris to be reasonable and tell Mr. Cohen to put the money on the table and let's get something done. And Alonso said to him, basically, I want to be there. It's up to those two guys, but this is where I want to be. And so, I mean, it's obvious, you don't need that to know that Alonso wants to be back, but the Mets have other needs. If they sign Soto, they still need frontline pitching, or they're going to trade for that. I'd love to go see a trade swung for Luis Castillo. I've seen that rumor. I'd love that. But it's tough.
No, I'd keep Alonso around, though. I think that the morale that he brings, and for him, he definitely wants to be a Met. There's so many reasons he wants to be a Met. Yeah. His legacy would be so much better if he's a career Met with every stat. Would you rather be David Wright or, a guy like Robinson Cano, who leaves their team, goes west, doesn't really win anything? And I think David Wright's legacy is far greater than that of Robinson Cano.
And he would be more than Wright. I mean, he would be so much more than Wright.
Especially if they win, yeah.
Right. But
if they win a title too, he's in top 3 to 5 Met territory ever.
100%. It's funny. Where does Lindor fall into that if they win a title? And he continues, the career trajectory that he's on. He's great, and then he starts to fall off in a couple of years. Where does Lindor fall on that list?
It's got to be pretty high.
His numbers are going to be right up there. WAR numbers, home runs, RBI, stolen bases. It's all going to be up there.
Well, they might be just, I don't know what exactly number he'll fall in. He won't be better than Seaver.
No.
But he's probably the second best player after that.
Yeah. Better than Wright.
And if he wins a title,
him and Alonso will be it's funny. We talk about Soto not being the face of the Yankees, right? Like if they win, it'll be Judge. If they won next year, right? We assume Judge is still going to have a better season.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because Soto's a new guy there, but Soto would be even more of a new guy with the Mets. And if the Mets went out and won the World Series in 2025, like, yeah, he'll get a lot of credit. He's the best player on the team, undoubtedly. But unless they go on a dynasty here, right, we're going to view, I think, the whole era as, oh, this is the Alonso Lindor era,
yeah.
right? Like, Soto will eventually get added to that when he plays more, but if it's next season, right, they win the World Series next season, it's going to be the Lindor Alonso era.
Yeah, he's less of a face on the Mets than he is as far as just what fans attribute the team with. He's less of a face on the Mets than he is on the Yankees. With the Yankees, it almost feels as if it's the Soto Judge era, Judge Soto era, however you want to say it. Like, I think Soto has a bigger face if they win than Cole, than Stanton, than any of those guys if they win this year. But on the other side of it, I think Mets fans are so attached, and rightfully so, to Alonso and to Lindor. I mean, the Yankees are kind of in a similar situation, right? Stanton and Cole are not homegrown.
Right.
They've had their ups and downs here for sure. Judge is the homegrown guy. It's his team. And Judge is also the only player in this equation either way that's better than Soto.
Yeah.
So
Soto's better than everybody on the Mets by a lot, by a long shot.
You think he's that much better than Lindor?
Offensively, yes. It's definitely a step. I think overall, you're probably right. I should probably chill. Because you add defensively how great Lindor is.
Lindor's top 5. He's top 5.
Top 5 what?
Players. Position players.
No, he's top 10. He's not top 5.
No, he's not top 5.
Judge, Soto, Witt, Betts,
Ohtani. Easy.
Yeah, that's 5. He's 10. He's definitely top 10.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love him. I gotta get a new jersey. I have the old black jersey. I gotta get a new one.
He might be. Is there a pitcher? Oh, Scooble would be. I was gonna say, is there a pitcher even in the top 10? If you say top 10 players, not just position players, but Scooble definitely is.
Wheeler, yeah.
I don't know if Wheeler is. I don't know if I'd rather.
I'm a big Wheeler guy.
I am too, but I think he falls just outside of my top 10.
He's underrated as all hell, man. Yeah,
what about the other free agents here, like Burns? It's weird because there's nothing on these guys.
Yeah, I think Boston's going to end up with one of the big pitchers.
I think they're going to get Fried.
All right, that's fine. I think Fried will probably go there. I don't know where Burns goes. Snell, it's a nice signing for the Dodgers. I mean, I can't say. They are really becoming the Golden State Warriors. Like, oh, we hate them. You know, they are really becoming that.
Only difference is the Warriors were all homegrown, and this team is not.
Tommy Edman, the Mets. Tommy Edman needs to send the Mets like a postcard with a couple of $1 million in it for the contract that he just got. Oh my God, $74 million for Tommy Edman?
Yeah, that's crazy, and it's deferred. Also, there's
serious?
Deferred money.
Of course, it's deferred. You know, it's frustrating, man. Because how do you beat this team? I mean, I know it doesn't work like that in baseball, but like, they're tough out. They're tough out.
They're the toughest out.
They're pitching next season. Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell, and then I don't know. They have like 4 other guys they can throw into there.
They have 4 other number 2s or 3s that are competing for that last spot.
May, if he comes back healthy, is probably a 3. Bobby Miller was a big-time guy coming into this season. He's in that rotation. Gonsolin was hurt this year. If he's your at worst a 5, that's unbelievable. They'll probably bring Kershaw back at some point. Like, they're 7 or 8 deep.
That's bad. It's really rough because, I mean, Walker Buehler's going to leave. They're not even going to offer him anything.
Yeah.
I
think Buehler's going to end up in New York, too, with one of our teams.
I think so as well. Did you see his Instagram post yesterday?
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know. That was weird. It was him at Yankee Stadium after he closed out the World Series, and it's the WB Mason sign in the background, and he just commented, who but, because that's the thing, who but WB Mason.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was like, who but hashtag WB Mason.
That's weird. Yeah, maybe he's a Yankee.
He's a Yankee. But did you see, just totally an aside, did you see this golden at-bat thing?
Oh, God. Yeah.
I mean, to even mention that it has a little buzz is so pathetic. I've been very cooperative and compromised emotionally, mentally with a lot of the new rules. I like the pitch clock. I like the stolen bases. I don't like the pickoff rule. I actually don't mind the ghost runner. I'm the only guy in the world. I kind of like the ghost runner. And this, though, golden at bat
This is bad.
This completely wipes out team building. Imagine every time the Yankees had Alex Verdugo up in a big spot, they could say, Soto's coming to hit.
It really is terrible. It's one of those ideas that should not leave the group chat. To even say you're considering this, Rob, is really bad. But, again, it's them catering towards this younger generation of baseball fans. It's funny. Michael Kay, the biggest purist of all, had mentioned this. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
when
I remember it.
They were talking about, Judge getting walked all the time.
Yeah, I was trying to think of where I first heard about this, and it was Kay. You're right.
And Kay was like, imagine they had a rule like this. The biggest purist in baseball. I wonder how he feels about it. But it's terrible, Kevin. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, everybody yesterday was just crushing it on Twitter. So
yeah,
I'm happy that this isn't something that is being, accepted by a lot of fans here. So
yeah, that's a terrible one because it wipes out strategy. Because, now you can't walk a guy to get to the 9-hitter because then the team's 3-hitter is going to come up and the team's 3-hitter is going to come up again in 2 spots. And that's terrible. That's a terrible thing even to suggest. And the only teams that probably want that is the teams that spend no money that would like to hit their best guy 6 times a game and pick one major spot every night to do it. And that can't happen.
Here's a good, this is really interesting. Somebody quote retweeted the thing to the rule, and this guy goes, they should consider 1 time per game when a random person in attendance gets to punch Rob Manfred in the face. So I don't know. That's how baseball fans feel about the possible rule change.
Baseball fans are great. Baseball Twitter is great. I saw a quote tweet the other day, and there was a quote about, it was like Soto liked a thing from Jason Dominguez on Instagram, and someone quote tweets it and says, WFAN caller on the overnight said his cousin is a barber in the DR and heard that Soto says he'll re-sign with the Yankees if they trade Dominguez. Like, where are we getting these ideas from?
You know what's funny? We never got this with Ohtani. Never.
No, none of it with Ohtani. You kind of always knew it was the Dodgers too.
It was just the plane thing. It was just the plane. That was it. Oh, he's going to Toronto, and he was never on the flight. But
no,
this is wild.
And the Red Sox fans have been ridiculous. I mean,
crazy.
You guys have to be kidding if you really are buying into this stuff, because there's got to be a point where, as sports fans, we acknowledge situations that our team has no business being in. And this is one of them for the Red Sox. Your team is not involved in this.
Can we do a challenge here? If the Red Sox actually sign him, we got to do something. We have to do something like detrimental to ourselves. Like jump in the water in the ocean in the freezing cold temperatures.
Like, I don't even think that I'll sign up for anything here because he's not going there.
All right, what do you want to do? I want to do something. I'll
sign up for anything. I
won't parachute out of a plane. I won't do that.
You won't go skydiving, but
I won't go skydiving
into the ocean.
No, but I'll go into the freezing cold ocean.
I'd rather go skydiving than jump in the ocean right now.
That's crazy. No, I'll jump in the ocean. It'd be freezing and get sick. I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah, but you'll survive that. Ocean, you get hypothermia and die.
No, we're not. We're gonna be in the ocean for 2 seconds and we're gonna run right out.
Mid-1700s who fell in the water.
Yeah. So jump into the water is better in parachuting?
No, I wouldn't be in the water. You'd land on land.
Yeah.
On Earth.
I don't know. He's not going to Boston. I'm willing to do a lot.
Yeah, that's a good little proposition though.
Yeah.
Is come on.
If he signs with Boston. If he signs with Boston, you have to go to a Red Sox game in a Red Sox jersey in Boston, Yankees, Red Sox. I have to go with you. And
we have to spend all our money on behind home plate tickets.
All right, and then vice versa, we also have to go to a Phillies game with me in Phillies gear.
If he signs with the Phillies or if he signs with
No,
the
if
Red
he
Sox?
signs with the Red Sox. Like you're
Yeah.
not just getting like I gotta go to my rival too.
But I feel like you in a Red Sox jersey is as much punishment, anyways.
All right, fine. I love the Red Sox.
And
I'm
then,
glad
and
they
then
wear one.
spending $1,600 on a ticket behind home plate.
No,
it would probably
ready? This is
way
it.
more.
This
for
is
Yankees,
it.
Red Sox.
This is it. Ready? You have to go in a Red Sox jersey, and I have to go in a Yankees jersey because A, I hate the Yankees, and B, I'll get hate from the fans.
And then
while
the Red Sox are winning, while the Red Sox are winning, and Cole's getting lit up, I'm just gonna be taunting you with the whole crowd.
Yeah, exactly. That's
if I'm a Red Sox fan too.
That's the best.
All right, there we go. So we'll both go to a Yankees-Red Sox game, sit behind home plate so you can see us on the TV.
Yep.
And I will wear a Red Sox Soto jersey. I'll buy a Red Sox Soto jersey, wear it to the game. You will wear my Jeter jersey.
Yep.
And you will get absolutely pelted the whole game while I sit there miserable.
Let's go. All right, that's the bet. We're good.
And I have to actively root for the Red Sox during the game.
And I have to root for the Yankees.
Yeah, you do. Like Judge hits a home run, you got to be up, out of your seat.
I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit
by me while we're sitting there. All right, you got any other free agency stuff you want to talk about?
No, I'm good. I'm ready for some trades and Soto to sign.
Yeah, I'm ready for this to be wrapped. We'll do an episode once Soto signs for sure.
Next week. It's gonna be next week.
It's gonna be next. I think it's gonna be the winter meetings end on Thursday. I think it's gonna happen Thursday or Friday.
Next Thursday.
Maybe even before that it happens.
Okay.
But you have all these guys together for a few days. It's gonna get done because I've said this since the season. He's got to sign quick, and this is relatively quick for a free agent. Yeah. I mean, you can remember guys that signed in late January, February. This is the point that he has to sign because there's too many guys waiting on him in this free agency, and the teams need to do too much. It's two contenders right now that are really in competition for him, and these teams have to do way too much if they don't get him. So everyone needs to know with optimal time left to sign more guys. Everyone needs to know as quick as possible, and that's next week.
We'll say
Soto probably wants this to be over too.
Yeah, I hope it's done soon.
It's going to be within the next 10 days. We will know. That's 10 days from now is next Friday,
and then an emergency pod.
We jump on no matter where we are.
There we go.
Jump on, and unless it's no matter where we are,
no matter what we're doing, football can be on. This takes precedent.
Yes, Soto takes precedent. Soto's number one.
Yeah.
And when he signs with the Yankees, we jump on here and we talk about it. And we talk about Mets plan B and Yankees. How else can they add?
Right.
Exactly. All right.
Sure.
We'll wrap it there. Soto's a Yankee. Good episode. Make sure to check out Hardline last night. Talking NFL. We did not have a Sunday recap this week. We'll be back on Sunday with that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Coast to Coast Thursday. Back to our regular time, Thursday at 11. So we will see you then. Thanks for watching.